Good evening, Dharma teachers and friends. Welcome to Buddhist Global Relief, Anchoring Our Lives in the Dharma online retreat. My name is Kim Bihen. I'm on the staff team of Buddhist Global Relief. It's wonderful to see all of you this evening participating in the retreat. I have a few details I would like to share with you before we start. You are muted on entry because this is a large event. If you have any questions, please use the chat function and a member of our team will respond to you. This evening, we will chant together and we'll hear welcoming reflections from BGR founder Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi, board member Ayya Dhammadipa, and BGR advisor Roshi Joan Holbridge. Tomorrow, we will have Dhamma talks and meditations from Venerable Bodhi, Ayya Dhammadipa, and Bhante Buddharakkhita, founder of the Uganda Buddhist Center. To begin tonight's program, BGR founder and chairperson Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi will give everyone who wishes the 3 refuges and the 5 precepts. Welcome, Bhante.
Okay, thank you, Kim, and I bid welcome to everybody who is joining us this evening, and thank you so much for participating in this little online retreat to welcome the new year 2023. And the new year is usually a time in which we give rise to our hopes for the future and try to establish a solid and sound foundation for our life as we move into the future. And so as Buddhists, we make the primary commitment, sort of the foundation for our whole life as a Buddhist, is taking refuge in the 3 jewels, and for lay disciples, observing the 5 precepts. And so I will be giving the 3 refuges and the 5 precepts to anybody who wants to take it. If any of you who are joining us are not a self-recognized Buddhist and you don't want to take the refuges and precepts, it's not necessary. But those who want to are welcome to join us. Everybody will be muted, but I will unmute one person to be the responder in taking the refuges and precepts. And I think she knows who it is. Gita, can you unmute yourself? Oh, I just got a message from somebody says that she used the Zoom link.
Yeah, I'm unmuted now.
Yep. But nobody.
Bhante, I think I have COVID, so my voice is going to be pretty rough.
Who is this?
But I'll join you. This is Gita, Bhante.
Wow, your voice is so different.
Yeah, I think I got COVID, so I'm just resting now, but I'm no problem. I'd love to do the refuges with you.
Okay, but I have a message from Venerable Hongwei that she says, nobody invited me to get in, so I tried to use the meeting ID and passcode. I believe there are still some people waiting in the waiting room. But
everybody have been admitted.
Okay, everybody has been admitted. Okay. Okay, so first I will recite the salutation to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
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 And now the 3 refuges. Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tadiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tadiyampi Dhammang saranam gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tadiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami.
So that completes the 3 refuges, and then we'll do the 5 precepts, and I'll do them both in Pali and English. Gita can just recite the Pali, then I'll just translate into English.
Yes, Bhante.
Panati pata viramani sikapadang samadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
I undertake the training rule to abstain from the destruction of life. Adina dana viramani sikapadang samadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
I undertake the training rule to abstain from taking what is not given, that is, stealing. Kamesu michachara viramani sikapadang samadhiyami.
Kame sumichachara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
I undertake the training rule to abstain from sexual misconduct. Okay, then the 4th precept. Musavada viramani sikapadang samadhiyami.
Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
I undertake the training rule to abstain from false speech, that is, from lying. Sura Merya Maja Pamada Tana Viramani Sikapadang Samadhiyami.
Suramereya majjapama dattana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
I undertake the training rule to abstain from wines, liquors, and other intoxicants, the cause of carelessness. Okay, so this completes now the giving of the 3 refuges and the 5 precepts.
Thank you, Bhante.
And thank you so much, Gita, and I hope you get better. Okay, next on the program, we will hear from one of our board members and a Theravada Bhikkhuni. This is Aya Dhammadipa, and she will present us with the chanting of the Metta Sutta, the discourse on loving kindness, and some reflections on the sutta, or appropriate for the new year.
Yes.
And so somebody will be putting up the text of the sutta so you can follow. Is that the case?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Bhante.
Not just yet. So just a moment, because I just wanted to say a little bit about the start of the new year. So thank you, Bhante, for the introduction. And Kim and Yvonne and George who are here supporting, and everyone who's here practicing. I say it every time, and every time it's true. That it is really a pleasure to see your faces and to know that you are here with your sincere heart of practice. And I just wanted to start by saying, yes, a warm welcome to everyone. And you know, the fireworks are over, the gift giving is done. And now we have settled down to the everyday part of the year. Right? We've settled down to this everyday life of ours. And our theme of anchoring our lives in the Dhamma is, I believe, really appropriate for this time of year. Because while there have been and are and will be breathtaking moments of Dhamma, truly this practice is about finding deep intimacy with our lived experience right here in this everyday life. And so gathering together here for this retreat is a very good way to gather together the supports for you to not only this weekend, but keep going beyond this weekend with your practice. And so already you have started by following through on your intention and actually being present here for the retreat. That's an important first step. So the next step, Bhante helped us out with starting out on the right foot with some very powerful practices, the practice of taking refuge and the practice of taking up the precepts, the virtue, as an important container, if you will, important environment for us to establish the kind of mind that can really receive the Dhamma deeply and understand it, experience it. And so now, having done that, and perhaps establishing some degree of seclusion, so hopefully you will give yourself the opportunity to really be here, really be present while you're here, both in body and mind, and that's important for being able to again to deeply receive the Dhamma. And so we're going to shift now to another very powerful practice, a practice of metta. So metta is one of the 4 what we call heavenly dwellings, the Brahma Viharas, and it's the one most mentioned actually in the suttas, typically translated as loving kindness, or I like to think of it as universal kindness. And speaking of the power of this particular practice, just to inspire you a bit, I just want to read a piece, a very short piece of a passage from the Itivuttaka. This is Venerable Bodhi's translation from his book, The Buddha's Teachings on Social and Communal Harmony. And this passage says this about metta. This is the Buddha speaking. Just as the radiance of all the stars does not equal a 16th part of the moon's radiance, but the moon's radiance surpasses them and shines forth bright and brilliant. Even so, whatever grounds there are for making merit productive of a future birth, so by that we mean whatever basis of action that would create beneficial momentum in your future, whatever those are, they are not equal to a 16th part of the liberation by mind of loving kindness. So the liberation by mind of loving kindness surpasses them and shines forth bright and brilliant. It's really a beautiful passage, and it gives us, I think, a lovely metaphor with which to consider how we can use the metta as a very transformative practice. And generally speaking, there are many, many benefits to metta. We could put them kind of in three general categories. One is nourishing our hearts and minds, our inner world, with that brightness, with that uplift, with those wholesome qualities. And one is also improving our relationships with others. That clearly begins to happen as we create this wholesome tendency of mind. And then finally, the category of metta as a support and a doorway to incredibly strong states of absorption, concentration. So really having us, enabling us to sort of squeeze out the five hindrances and create a spaciousness and a brightness and a clarity of mind that is quite helpful for concentration. So before we go on to actually trying it out for ourselves in the meditation, what I'd like to do now is go ahead and chant the Metta Sutta, and then we'll do just a brief form of the practice to warm up our hearts and minds. So we're going to chant it in English, and it's because we're chanting it in English this evening because although the Pali is very beautiful to hear, I think that there are some very important messages for us in this sutta, particularly at this time of year. So thank you, Kim, for sharing your screen there. And so everyone should have their mics muted at this point, and we can just chant together as I leave my mic on. And yes, thank you. Or if it's unfamiliar to you, it's also really fine to just let the words of the sutta wash over you. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child. So with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Thank you for sharing the screen there, Kim. So it's a very beautiful teaching that we've been given by the Buddha. And he starts right away by saying that we can be skilled in goodness, that this is a practice that we take up. And so with that in mind, I'd like for us to do just a little bit of metta meditation. And I think we're going to just settle in your seats at this moment. You don't need to remember any of the phrases that we just chanted. You could just begin to sense the weight of the body settling right here in your meditation posture. Relaxing the belly, relaxing the chest. And sensing the lightness of the body as well as you come into an upright posture. Softening the eyes. Now bringing to mind the image, some image that reminds you of kindness. Maybe it's some cute puppy or baby laughing or a friend doing something sweet. Just reminding yourself of that mundane quality of kindness. Bringing to mind this image of some being or some moment that sparks the quality. And you'll know when you found the right image because there's a pleasantness to that quality of the mind. Oh, may that being be well. And having sparked that quality in the mind, you can envision it as a light. A light of kindness. And that light, as naturally happens, will begin to fill your body. Metta, the light of metta, nourished by each in-breath, allowing the breath and the intention to brighten that light of metta, and then flowing naturally with each out-breath, that light beginning to fill your body. Brightening on the in-breath and flowing on the out-breath. A light of metta growing stronger and stronger with each breath. And you can return to the image if you need to spark that quality again. And by now, that light of metta is filling your whole body. Still nourishing that light with the in-breath. And as it gets even stronger, that light of metta begins to flow even beyond your body. Flowing all around you, just like the light of the moon that the Buddha spoke of. Metta flowing all around you and above you and even below you. Metta gently passing through all things. And now in these last few moments of the meditation, dissolving all boundaries, dissolving all limits, and that light of metta flowing still further, unobstructed. Bhante, you're still muted, so back to you. Yes. Thank you. Mm, you need to turn it.
Yeah, thank you for the third time. Thank you, Aya Dhammadeva, first for that very beautiful chanting of the Metta Sutta, which was very, very melodious, almost like the Gregorian chant, I imagine.
Mm.
And then for the beautiful guided meditation of metta or loving kindness.
You're welcome. Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, now I'm going to present or give my presentation on the basis of another very popular sutta in the Theravada tradition. This is called the Ratana Sutta, which literally means the discourse on jewels. And the jewels, of course, are the three jewels of the Buddha Dharma. That is the Buddha, the Dhamma, the teaching, and the Aryan Sangha. And first, a little bit of the background to the sutta. During the time when the Buddha was living at Savatthi, actually it was at Rajagaha, a plague had broken out in the city of Vesali, and many people were dying, just dying in the streets. And the citizens of Vesali had tried to apply they used all of the medical techniques at their that were available to them, but the plague kept on spreading and more people were dying. And so finally, the citizens of Vesali thought that this is something beyond their capacity to resolve. And so they sent a delegation to Rajagaha to request the Buddha to come to Vesali to use his spiritual power in order to quell the plague. And so the Buddha, together with his community of monks, they traveled to Vesali. And there the Buddha recited the Ratana Sutta with Venerable Ananda present by his side. And he had requested Ananda to take a bowl of water, and he recited the Ratana Sutta above the bowl of water. And then he asked Ananda to circle the city, sprinkling the water through the streets of the city. And then as Ananda did this, then the plague dissipated and it vanished. And so the Ratana Sutta is taken as a way to confer spiritually healing blessings. And I think it's very appropriate for our present time when though we've seemed to have recovered largely from the COVID pandemic, but still we're not completely in the clear and there are new variants constantly manifesting. And we also live in a time when there are other threats of devastating threats that are to the security and well-being of this country, the US, and other countries, and to the entire global community. So reciting the verses of the Ratana Sutta is a way not only of invoking the spiritual power of the three jewels to ensure our own well-being, safety, and security, but it's a way of drawing upon the spiritual power of the three jewels in order to spread the power of blessings out into the world. And so when we recite these verses, then we bring to mind, we don't just recite them mechanically, but we bring to mind the qualities of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha expressed by the verses, and we let those qualities empower our own mind. And then through the spiritual force of our own mind, we send those blessings out into the world, driven by metta and karuna, by loving kindness and compassion, wishing that these blessings of the three jewels will dispel disasters, remove calamities, heal conflicts, eliminate diseases, pandemics, epidemics, and bring harmony, peace, and prosperity to the entire human community and to, in fact, to all sentient beings, human and non-human. So I'm going to bring the verses up onto the screen. And then let me, I have to do this by sharing the screen. Okay. And it's a rather long sutta, so I'm not going to recite every verse, but I'll I'll recite the main verses on the qualities of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And as I'm reciting, don't just listen passively, but in your own mind, through your faith and devotion to the triple gem, through the power of your reverence and veneration for the three jewels, you bring these qualities of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha into your own mind. And then through the loving kindness that you've been practicing with Ayya Dhammadipa's guidance, you send that loving kindness and that power of blessing out into the world. So I'll go through first the first two verses. I'll take only in English. So here the Buddha is addressing the supernatural beings, the devas, who might be the earth-dwelling devas and the sky-dwelling devas. He's requesting them to be happy, expressing a wish for their happiness, then asking them to listen carefully to what he's going to say. And then in the second verse, he reminds these devas, these deities, that human beings make offerings to them day and night, and therefore, he says, protect them. Okay, and now we come to the verses, and there'll be first one verse praising the Buddha, then two verses praising the Dhamma. Then I'm going to recite two verses praising the Sangha. Then skipping over a number of verses, I'll come to another verse praising the qualities of the Buddha and another verse praising the qualities of the Sangha. And then we come to the final three verses, which are verses of benediction, of good wishes for the well-being of the world. So I'll recite in Pali and then read in English. I can't recite in English beautifully the way Ayya Dhammadipa does. I have to read them in a rather prosaic voice. Yang kinchi vitang idava hurang va sage suvayang ratanang panitang nano samangati tathagatena idampi buddhe ratanang panitang etena sachena suati hotu. Whatever treasure exists here or beyond, or the sublime gem in the heavens, there is none equal to the Tathagata. The Tathagata is a designation for the Buddha. This is the sublime gem in the Buddha. By this truth, may there be safety. Okay, now you empower your own mind with this reflection. You can just read the words again to yourself in English and then generate from your mind that wish by the truth of these words. May there be for this whole world, may there be safety. Okay, the second verse is a verse of praise for the Dhamma. But here it's not referring to the Dhamma as the formulated verbal teaching of the Buddha. But here what is meant by the Dhamma is the ultimate or supreme Dhamma, which is Nibbana itself, which is called the destruction of defilements, dispassion, the deathless, and the sublime. Kayang viragang amatang panitang yada jaga sakyamuni samahito natena dhammena samati kinchi idampi dhamme ratanang panitang etena sachena suati hotu. Okay, the destruction of defilements, dispassion, the deathless, the sublime, which Sakyamuni, the personal name of the Buddha, concentrated in a state of samadhi, discovered and attained. There is nothing equal to that Dhamma. This is the sublime gem in the Dhamma. By this truth, may there be safety. And so now you direct your mind to the sublime or world transcending Dhamma of Nibbana, the deathless. And you let the spiritual power of the Nibbana Dhatu, the element of Nibbana, flow into the mind. And then you send that spiritual force of veneration, of trust, confidence, and in the world transcending Dhamma. You send that spiritual power out into the world, wishing that for the whole world there'll be safety, an end to conflict and violence, an end to exploitation of some people by others, an end to illness and distress. So may there be safety for all. Okay, the next verse is another verse of praise towards the Dhamma, praise for the Dhamma. And this is referring to the Dhamma as the Noble Eightfold Path, particularly the Dhamma as the Samma Samadhi of the Noble Eightfold Path. So in the previous verse, the Dhamma represents Nibbana, the unconditioned or deathless state. In the next verse, the praise is directed towards the Samma Samadhi, the world transcending concentration that the Buddha praised as the foremost purity. Yam Buddha Seto Parivanai Suching Samadhimanantari Kanyamahu Samadhina Tena Samo Navijati Idampi Dhamme Ratanang Panitang Etena Sachena Suati Hotu. Okay, so now you can direct the mind to the Noble Eightfold Path, the truly liberating path in which all of the factors converge upon Samma Samadhi, guided and, of course, guided and directed by right view in the function of wisdom. And then you let the power of the Noble Eightfold Path suffuse your mind. And then you direct with loving kindness and compassion the healing power of the Eightfold Path out upon the world. Okay, next we have a verse in praise of the Sangha, and this is referring to the Aryan Sangha, the community of noble ones. It's called the eight persons, the four pairs. These are the persons who have reached the world transcending paths and fruits. Okay, so first I'll recite in Pali. Ye pugala atta satang pasata chatari etani yugani honti te dakineya sugatasa savaka etesu dinani mahapalani idampi sange batanang panitang etena sachena suwati hotu. And then I'll read the English. The eight persons praised by the good constitute these four pairs, the four who have attained the noble paths, and the four who have attained or realized the four fruits. These who are worthy of offerings are the fortunate one, that's the blessed one's disciples. Gifts given to them yield abundant fruit. Okay, now you suffuse your mind with the qualities, the virtues of the noble Sangha, the blessing power of the noble Sangha, and then again, through loving kindness and compassion, you radiate that blessing power out upon the world. With the thought that this too is the sublime gem in the Sangha. By this truth, may there be safety. Okay, I'm going to jump down now to the last verse in praise of the Sangha. And this verse is praising exclusively the Arahants, those disciples who have cut off all the defilements and who have attained Nibbana in this very life. Kinang Puranang Navang Nati Sambhavang Virata Chita Ayati Ke Bhavasmin Te Kina Bija Avirul Hichanda Nibanti Dirayatayang Padipo Idampi Sange Ratanang Panitang Etena Sachena Suati Hotu. The old is destroyed. That is, all of the old karmic formations that have been accumulated in the mind are now destroyed. There is no new origination of any future existence in samsara. Their minds are dispassionate towards future existence, with the seeds destroyed, with no desire for growth. Those wise ones go out into nirvana, just like as this lamp goes out. This too is a sublime gem in the Sangha. By this truth, may there be safety. And so now in your minds, you invoke the spiritual power of the Sangha of Arahants, the community of Arahants, the fully liberated ones. And you suffuse your mind with that power, and then you radiate the spiritual power, the healing power of the liberated ones out into the world. And then we have the 3 ending verses, which are all identical except for one word, which is the word representing the gem. Yanita Bhutani Samagatani Bhumani Vayani Vantalike Tathagatang Deva Manusa Pujitang Buddhang Namasama Suati Hotu. Whatever beings are gathered here, whether of the earth or the sky, we pay homage to the thus gone Buddha, venerated by devas and humans. May there be safety. Then I'll just read the next 2 verses in English. Whatever verses are gathered here, whether of the earth or in the sky, we pay homage to the thus gone Dhamma, venerated by devas and humans. May there be safety. Whatever beings are gathered here, whether of the earth or in the sky, we pay homage to the thus gone Sangha, venerated by devas and humans. May there be safety. And that concludes our recitation of the at least selected verses from the Ratana Sutta.
Sadhu, sadhu,
Okay, so yeah, we could go
sadhu.
sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so next on the program, I'm very happy to welcome to our, I don't see her, we should bring her up and make her visible. Joan Roshi, Joan, there she is. Okay, so I'm very happy to welcome my good friend, Roshi Joan Hogetsu Huberik. Joan is the abbot and founder of the Heart Circle Zen, I guess Heart Circle Zen community in Teaneck, New Jersey. And I first met Joan, must have been in the year 2004 or 2005, after the South Asian tsunami struck Sri Lanka and other South Asian countries. And Joan had been trained and worked as a psychotherapist. And the idea came into her mind that people in Sri Lanka must have been traumatized by the tsunami. And so just spontaneously, the thought came into her mind that she could use her skills, her training as a psychotherapist to go to Sri Lanka, maybe bringing some other psychotherapists with her to meet with people who had felt traumatized by the tsunami, to speak to them, of course, through translator, and to help them deal with the traumatic experiences that they had gone through, particularly in many cases, probably the loss of loved ones. And so partly for her work in South Asia and also as her work as a leader, a Buddhist leader in the United States, Joan had been designated, I don't remember the year, I had it marked here, as an outstanding woman in Buddhism. Yeah, it's just in 2009, she was named as an outstanding woman in Buddhism. And now she had lived for many years in New Jersey, but now she lives in Tiburon, California. And so now she will share with us a reflection to help us get grounded in the new year. And so, Joan, and when you're ready, you could tell me to bring up the text that you want.
Okay. Am I unmuted?
Yeah,
Okay, great.
when you're ready, you just tell me to bring it up.
Okay. So it's wonderful to see so many familiar old friends on the screen. I'm delighted to be back in touch with Buddhist Global Relief, and I appreciate you for inviting me to say a few words tonight. I've been sitting with a meditation group in Tiburon, California, who recite the 5 remembrances at the end of some of their sitting sessions. And personally, I found them to be particularly meaningful to me lately, and I wanted to share them with you. This particular phrasing of them came from a talk by Blanche Hartman of San Francisco's Zen Center. Blanche has since passed away, but I liked her phrasing. And what I find meaningful in reciting them is that they call us back to the reality of our life as human beings. This is what is true about being human. When we remember these points, we can appreciate the joy of being alive, even though we know that we will have or are having a difficult time. So now I'm ready for the words, Bhante, and I, like Aya Dhammadeepa, I invite you to say them with me as we go through them. It's relatively short, and I don't have Aya Deepa's beautiful voice either.
Are they appearing?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Strange. You see the Ratana Sutta? Okay. Okay, let me try again. I keep on getting the Ratana Sutta coming up.
Well,
Strange. Let me just try one more time.
okay.
It says I'm sharing the screen, but... Oh, I see what's happened. Okay. Do you see them now?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I see.
Can you raise them up a little bit more?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I want to get rid of this. That's it. We don't need that.
Just a little bit more.
Yeah, I will.
That's good. These are the 5 facts that one should reflect on often, whether one is a woman or a man, priest or lay. Number 1, I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. This is the first fact that one should reflect on often, whether one is a woman or a man, priest or lay. 2, I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape ill health. This is the second of the 5 facts that one should reflect on often, whether one is a woman or a man, priest or lay. 3rd, I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. This is the 3rd of the 5 facts that one should reflect on often, whether one is a woman or a man, lay or priest. 4, all that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. I cannot keep anything. I come here empty-handed, and I will go empty-handed. This is the fourth of the 5 facts that one should reflect on often, whether one is a woman or a man, lay or priest. 5, my actions are my only true belongings. I cannot escape the consequences of my actions. My actions are the ground on which I stand. This is the 5th fact that one should reflect on often, whether one is a woman or a man, priest or lay. Okay, thank you, Bhante.
Okay, I'll end. I'll end the stop share. Okay.
Okay, great. So these remembrances seem to be quite dark when you first encounter them, but that hasn't been my experience. So let's take this is kind of an intimate personal talk. But take the first one. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. This is the first fact that one should reflect on often, whether one is a woman or a man, priest or lay. So getting old is definitely not for wimps. It's tough. It happens before we are ready for it. We live as though we will always go on. There are a lot of losses associated with getting old. I turned 80 in December last month, and it kind of woke me up. I had to admit to myself that I was old. I am elderly. It seems to have happened so quickly. I spent last year reflecting on what it meant to turn 80 in anticipation of turning 80. I've lost 50% of my vocabulary, and it's embarrassing not being able to remember people's names or faces. I've been studying French for decades, but now I can't remember new words or phrases, and I forget the old ones that I did know. Still, I feel lucky because I am in reasonably good health and my mind is still functioning pretty well. I also feel really grateful for my many years of practice, which has led to a certain amount of inner peace, even turning 80. I really appreciate my life and the sense of foreshortening it gives me. Makes me very aware of what I want to do with my remaining years. My family is very important to me, and I am making them a priority. Practice also remains a high priority. It helps me keep everything in perspective. So this talk is really a celebration of practice. It's about what practice has done for me in my own life and why I continue it. So the second reflection, remembrance, is I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape ill health. This is the second of 5 facts that one should reflect on often, whether one is a woman or a man, lay or priest. Ill health is frightening. We wonder, will it destroy my quality of life? What will I have to give up? After my husband of 54 years died last August, I got quite sick with lung disease. I thought it was pneumonia. The doctors initially thought it was pneumonia, but it turned out it was an exacerbation of an underlying condition I've had for years. I had to recognize that I had been under a lot of unremitting stress and that I needed to take care of myself. So I just let my life slow way down. It was easy because my lungs wouldn't let me do much as I tired extremely quickly. I accepted that this was my life at the moment, and I even came to enjoy the slowed down life. I slept a lot, I read, I watched TV, I saw a few psychotherapy patients on Zoom, but didn't take any new cases. I didn't give any Dharma talks or see students for months. I didn't see people except for family. Basically, my social life consisted of seeing doctors. I'm much better now. And the lesson I learned was that being sick, being ill, wasn't so bad if you can meet it with acceptance and not resist and resent it. It's part of being human. You can't rush it along. Sickness has its own rhythm, its own teaching. Ill health generally seems to come with old age. It's helpful to be grateful for life itself. Being grateful for the capacity that we haven't yet lost in old age can help keep us cheerful and at peace. One of my Tiburong Sangha community is 96 now, and she lives in a community of elderly people, and she's pretty much wheelchair bound. And she said that her nieces come in and they feel sorry for her, but she doesn't feel sorry for herself. She's quite content to have lived 96 years, to still be mentally alert and have her, really, she seems quite to have her full capacity. And the fact that she has difficulty walking is hard for her, but she's continuing to do physical therapy and hopes to be able to continue to walk. The third remembrance is, I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. This is the third of the 5 facts that one should reflect on often, whether one is a woman, a man, lay, or priest. So I lost my husband 4 months ago. Frankly, his last month was really difficult. He was in the hospital and the doctors wanted to make him better, but their efforts caused him an unendurable amount of anguish and pain. Finally, I was able to bring him home and get him in hospice care at home, and hospice made him comfortable. He was so happy to be home. I was so happy to have him home. The hospice team was wonderful, and he was in no pain. He came home on a Sunday and slipped away early Friday morning. The whole family gathered around each night and ate dinner by his bedside. He began to slip in and out of consciousness, but he knew we were there and gave us various signals. He reached out and touched his granddaughter's knee. He smiled at his French grandchildren on Zoom. He opened his eyes and looked at us. He looked calm and peaceful as he drifted in and out. I got up around 4:30 a.m. on that Friday morning, and he was gone. His body was cold and he had stopped breathing. He had lived 88 and a half years. It was a full life. He was well loved. It was a peaceful passing. And there is no way to escape death. Death is still a big mystery, and as such, it can be frightening to some. Science may someday be able to shed light on what happens after death, but that still feels a long way off. I suppose we all hold some kind of belief about what happens after death. My personal belief, based on my meditation practice and my own experience, is that we dissolve into a kind of loving energy, and we merge with the loving energy of the universe. I always feel that loving energy when I go on retreat, and I find it comforting to believe in that. And fifth, all that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change. This is not fifth, I got lost. This is 4. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. I cannot keep anything. I come here empty-handed, and I will go empty-handed. This is the fourth of the 5 facts that one should reflect on often, whether one is a woman or a man, lay or priest. In some ways, for me, this is the hardest one. Losing loved ones is hard. Jeff and I were married so long, 54 years, that I'm not sure who I am without him. I feel like I may have to reinvent myself, and I'm not exactly sure what that will mean. I find I don't mind being alone. All those long retreats have taught me much about being alone and the pleasure in silence. Not having him as part of our family at Thanksgiving and Christmas was hard, however, since family was so important to him. And that makes me appreciate my wonderful family even more. And tomorrow is his birthday. He would have been 89. I think I'll corral my 2 sons, one's in France and one's here in California, and we'll sing happy birthday to him over Zoom. Again, I feel so grateful to my years of mindfulness practice, which keeps me tuned in to what I am feeling in my body and mind so that I can live my experience fully. I feel his birthday needs to be marked in some way. Maybe I won't feel that same way the next year, but this year, that's what I'm feeling. I'm okay being sad and recognizing it. It passes, and I feel moments of joy as I watch the hummingbirds in a tree outside my window. Oddly, the joy and the sadness almost occur simultaneously and reinforce each other. A sense of wonder at the miracle of life pervades me. And 5th, my actions are my only true belongings. I cannot escape the consequences of my actions. My actions are the ground on which I stand. This is the 5th fact that one should reflect on often, whether one is a woman or a man, priest or lay. This is really a wake-up call to all of us. What we do matters. It is not at all easy to have to take in the consequences of our actions when we are in the midst of our life. And of course, we can't know what the consequences of our actions will be. But we do know the state of our minds if we are mindful. And honestly, we are not always mindful, though we may hold the intention to be mindful. What regrets do you hold? Where do you feel shame or guilt? It's so good and so important to atone for those actions that cause us regret, shame, or guilt. Carrying around shame and guilt can lead to more thoughtless actions. Personally, I regret not bringing Jeff home from the hospital earlier and putting him in home hospice care. He suffered so much in the hospital his last month. Yet there was always the possibility that he might have been helped, and the doctors weren't telling me he was dying. So my intentions were good, and had I brought him home earlier, I'm afraid I would have wondered if I had deprived him of the possibility of recovery. So we have to live with not knowing what our actions are and what they will bring. We have to live with not knowing what our actions will bring, even with the best of intentions. We are only human. However, one important point for all of you is that your actions with Buddha's global relief are actions that matter, that bring sustenance to people around the world. These are good consequences. You can stand on them. So why do I find these 5 remembrances so comforting? The fact that they are true statements about our life and the conditions of our life makes it possible to just accept them. So that's how it is. It's not my fault I am sick. It's not my fault that a loved one died. It's not my fault that I am going to die. It's just the way it is. I am a human being. So thank you for your attention.
Okay. I have to develop the mindfulness to unmute myself. So I was saying, thank you, Roshi Joan, for sharing those words of wisdom with us. And I think that's really one of the most important little suttas, often overlooked in the Pali Canon. And just last week, I gave my Saturday morning class based on that sutta.
Ah,
Yeah, and I didn't realize that your husband had died. I knew that you
yes,
were looking after him. So let me express my condolence to you
well, thank you.
and wish him for tomorrow a happy, what is the expression? Happy going on continuation day.
Anyway, um, in whatever realm he's in.
Yeah. And about forgetting little things. Yesterday, I had a visitor and I was talking with him and I was trying to express the idea of how two words can be joined by a little dash. And I had trouble remembering the name of that little dash. I was thinking M dash, N dash, no, long dash, no. I just had to say two words joined by a little dash. Then this morning, I was walking down the steps and suddenly the word hyphen came to my mind. And I was wondering, is this old age?
This is it. We're the same age, I know.
No, I'm 2 years younger than you. I'm 78.
Oh, I thought you were my age.
No, no.
Well, you're not old yet.
Okay, now we're going to move into the closing of this evening's presentation. And this will be another blessing chant, which is called, it's a parita, that is a recitation for the purpose of blessing. And it's a parita which might have been composed in Sri Lanka, but in any case, it's quite popular in the Sri Lankan tradition. And it's called the Atta Visi Buddha Parita. It is the recitation of the names of the 28 Buddhas. According to the Buddhist tradition, there are countless Buddhas going back through beginningless time. Our Buddha, so-called our Buddha, is the Buddha Gautama, also known as Shakyamuni. But the Buddha Gautama is just the latest in this dynasty of Buddhas going back through aeon upon aeon upon aeon. And this recitation recollects the names of the 28 Buddhas, ending in the Buddha Gautama, and it designates each Buddha not only by their name, but by a particular epithet. So I'm going to share the screen. Is it visible?
Not yet, Bhante.
Oh, I see. I opened it, but I didn't share it yet. Okay.
You're having that same problem that you, oh, there you go. Now it
It
shows.
should be there.
It's there now.
You can see it. Okay, so there's a little introduction which sort of invokes the blessing power. I'm going to skip the introductory verses. And so you could see the structure of it. It begins just with a homage to all of the Buddhas. Then it comes into the names of the Buddhas. Each Buddha, you have the name and then a designation. I have the translation I'm not going to recite the translation, but just the Pali, but just to show you how it's configured. We have the name of the Buddha, then each one has a particular epithet. So the first one is called Tanhankara. He's called the great hero. Medankara is one of great honor. Saranankara, the abode of love. Dipankara, the lustrous light, and so on. And then after going through, coming the last one is the Buddha Gautama, the glory of the seconds. Then comes the invocation of the spiritual powers of the Buddhas, ending in the extension of the blessings, the pervading the blessings. Okay, so we join the palms together, and I'll recite this in Pali. Namo me sabbabuddhanang upananang mahesinang tanhankaro mahaviro medankaro mahayaso saranankaro lokahito dipankaro chutindaro kandanyo janapa moko mangalo purisasabo sumano diro refito rativadino Sobito guna sampanno anumodasi janutamo patumo lokapajoto narado varasarati padumutta rosata saro sumedoa gapugalo sujato sabaloka go piadasi narasabo Atadasi karuniko damadasi tamonudo Siddhato asamoloke tiso varada sangvaro puso varada sambudo vipasi chanupamo siki sabahito sata vesabu sukadayako kakusando satavaho kona gamano rananjaho kasapo sirisampanno Gotamo Sakyapungavo Sabbe Buddha Sama Samma Sabbe Buddha Mahidika Sabbe Dasa Balupeta Vesaraje Hupagata Sabbe Te Patijananti Asabhatanangutamang Siha Nadang Nadant Ete Parisasu Visarada Brahmachakang pavatenti lokaya pativatayang upeta buddhadhammehi attarasa hinayaka vatingsa lakanupeta sityanu byanjana dara bhyama pabayasu pabba sabete muni kunjara buddha sabanyuno ete Sabbe kina savajina mahapaba mahateja mahapanya mahabala mahakarunika dira sabbe sanang sukavaha dipanata patitacha tana lena chapanino gati bandu mahasasa sarana cha hitesino Sa devaka salokasa sabbe ete parayana te sangsa chena silena kanti metta balena cha te pitvang anurakantu arugena sukena cha Atta visi me Buddha puretva dasaparami jadva marari sangamang Buddha tang samupagamung etena satchavajena hotu te jayamangalang etena satchavajena hotu te jayamangalang etena satchavajena hotu te jayamangalang. Okay, so that concludes the recitation of the 28 Buddhas protective verses. And so I think, Kim, now it's
Kim, we can't hear you. Okay.
okay.
Thank you so much, Bhante, Aya, and Roshi for the beautiful chants and the very heartfelt reflections this evening. And to all of our Dharma teachers and friends with us tonight, thank you for joining us for this introductory session of Buddhist Global Relief, anchoring our lives in the Dharma retreat. Please join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Pacific, as we welcome in the new year together. We look forward to continuing our practice with you. Thank you so much.
And we wish everybody a happy and healthy New Year.
Thank you.
Yes.
And you too.
Happy New Year. And
Happy
have a
New
good evening. And we hope to see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bante. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Sadhu, Sadhu.
Thank you,
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to see everyone. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.